What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Real Local People podcast. We got somebody here today that if you've ever been to Eastside Christian Church, you know who he is. And if you've ever been to a decently nice restaurant in the area and had dinner, you've probably seen him out strumming the guitar. We got Aquila Bock here today. What's up, man?
What's up, dude? Doing good?
Doing pretty well. Yeah. No complaints.
Yeah. How you living?
You know me, just every day by the seat of my pants.
Yeah. I was just excited to get asked to get on here with somebody that's like so well known in this area.
Oh yeah,
you're casting a lot of good things at me, and you're the one that plays the drums like a freak.
I just throw a lot of nice stuff on the walls, get somebody to film really nice. It makes you look a lot more important than you actually are.
I'll take it too. I appreciate it.
Yeah. So, like I said, Aquila is, or I didn't say it, but I hinted at it. Aquila is the worship pastor at Eastside Christian Church. And, I normally ask people to kind of tell me the story from the beginning. Sure. In your case, it kind of matches. It's your testimony is kind of the same thing. Like how you came to God is also kind of how you came to Eastside Christian Church.
Yeah, big part of it.
And just wanted to hear a little bit of that. Tell us the story.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I was raised little country churches, oldest of 9 children in our household. And mom and dad had us in church. We did the Wednesday night, if people remember the Wednesday night. And then you had Friday night prayer service, Sunday morning, quick lunch afterwards, and then back to something on Sunday night. So really kind of raised in all that. Had a real close relationship with Jesus growing up, and really was just walking a good path. Mm-hmm. Very active in my faith in high school, and got into music and leading worship for youth group, and just really was on fire for the Lord. And then, just as so many young people do, you kind of have a falling away and chased a lot of other things. Wasn't raised around a lot of stable finances. Mm-hmm. You can imagine how many kids you got.
I got 2.
You got 2. I've got 2.
Yeah.
And well, I should say me and my wife have 2 because she'd be upset if I eliminated her from that equation. Yeah. But with 9 kids,
you got to your family. Most people I've talked to, we just moved right past, and Faith afterwards like, hey, you never talked about their family.
Hey, no, listen.
So good call. You brought Abby. If you're listening, then he did good.
Yeah, my wife Abby, 8 years, and then my kids Ivy 6, Judah's 2.
Yeah.
And 3. I'm sorry, and then we've got 2 little puppies. So, but just kind of had a falling away. Being raised 9 kids, wanted to chase finances, and with kind of just wanting to make my place in the world, got wrapped up in things that a young Christian person shouldn't. Mm-hmm. And so just kind of had a great falling away. Had a real bad season with my family and my parents, and so lost contact with them for a long time. And got into playing music late night in the clubs and the bars, and drinking pretty heavy, and just not pursuing the right things in my life. A lot of bitterness, a lot of anger. And I always say this when I'm talking about my testimony. You sometimes forget as that happens in your life how long of a period of time sometimes you can waste. Right. And all of a sudden I blinked one day and I woke up and it's 11 or 12 years later.
Right.
And, when you party that much, you run through a lot of finances. And so making great money, and all that money is gone, and didn't have good relationships in my life, and without my family, and without sounding, run of the mill, you kind of wake up one day sick and tired of being sick and tired.
Yeah.
And just that lifestyle doesn't appeal anymore. And so,
yeah, it's glamorous. I know from being in a band for a while myself, you're out there a lot, and financially you can say, contrary to popular belief, all drinks are not free when you're in the band. So it ends up going that way too. But it gets, when you're young, it's easy to get sucked into that. You're getting the attention from being on stage and everything else. But sorry, continue.
No, you're good. No, you hadn't mentioned that you were the headlining drummer for probably the biggest band in this.
If anybody's listened
region,
to this,
right?
they probably heard it by now. I tell as many people as I possibly can because it's the only cool thing I've ever done in my life. My son still wishes I was in the band. He's all the time. He's like, "When are you gonna get back in the band?" I was like, "Do you want to not see your dad on weekends anymore?"
I mean, you're in a pretty good band right now.
Yeah, that's true. I'm in the Eastside Christian Church
worship band.
At least I'm the middle of the road drummer out of 5 incredible musicians.
Man, you're better
and a great
than
band, dude. We'll talk about that here in a little bit, but man, yeah, there's some incredible musicians.
I showed up in May of 2012 to Eastside, and
Did you come to be the worship pastor, or did you just join the church at that point?
I crawled in the church.
Okay, gotcha.
I barely made it into the church.
Right.
I wasn't in a good place, and went in with the expectation of, I kind of want to prove myself right, that all Christians are hypocrites, and that this place is going to look at me and see me in the filth that I've created and the disaster of my life, and push me aside and reject me. And that was going to make me feel better and feel like I was justified. Right. And, any chance I get to tell this story, actually, we had something at church called Pathway last night. It's a program we offer. And, I get to tell that story to new people in our church that they did the opposite of that. For the first time in my life, I had a group of people that picked me up off the ground, didn't care what I looked like, didn't care where I'd come from, didn't care what I was still involved with. And they cleaned me up, showed me the love of Jesus, put their arms around me. So we're going to walk through this battle with you. And I've been there.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say, if Eastside was anything like then, like it is now, then I knew you weren't going to get that turned away.
Absolutely. No.
We came in around 2020, and I mean, it's immediately, I mean, because it's a bigger church.
Right.
It's not massive.
Yeah, we're a couple thousand people.
North, or Southeast or one of those, but it's big, and it felt like immediately people knew my name. You know, and that's not like I'm a big thing. Like, that was a joke. I'm not a big thing. It was because you could tell an effort was being put into it. There's something to this. It's some sort of an art and a blessing from God, and just favor God to make a 2,000 person church. In some ways, feel like a 200 person church where you can know people and people can know you, and you can be seen and you can be heard. And, like at any place, if you want to get lost in the shuffle, you can. Yeah. But if you don't want to be and you need some stuff, it can happen. Yeah, I remember one of those first days. I think it was maybe the second or third time we came. I remember John Talbot, who I'd never met before in my life. I'd never met John.
Shout out Johnny T.
Walks up to me and immediately and calls me and my wife by name, and I'm like, he walked away, and I was like, what just happened? Like, how does he know our name? How does he,
that man's a magician with names, man.
He's unbelievable.
He's forgotten more names than I've ever remembered. Yeah. It's crazy.
So that leads me into, and maybe that's the answer to one of my next questions. But what's your elevator pitch for Eastside? Like, what makes Eastside stand out? I mean, because we've seen some incredible growth just in the time that I've been there. I mean, you could argue that it went from nearly zero to what it is now, because I came in during COVID and there was nobody in that building.
True. We had a several week period we weren't in there. Yeah.
So what do you see and what do you hear that's bringing people there that would somebody watching might look at this and say, "Oh, that sounds awesome. I'll check it out."
So I can point to several of the measurables and the man-made efforts that go into it. We're really proud of our section of volunteers, of the people that serve our church with an attitude of excellence. And also what we hear a lot from new people is that we kind of joke around, and this is just a joke, but it's like, sounds like sometimes we're the friendliest church in Southern Indiana. And people always just comment about, man, I had 5 people talk to me or acknowledge me and say hello and welcome me to church, and just
it gets tiresome sometimes walking in and waving because so many people say hi on your way in.
And I feel like that sometimes. And then if we really look at that and put ourselves in other people's shoes, one thing I say to my team sometimes is that look in somebody's eyes and that acknowledgement of them and even a hello, that might have been the only human interaction they got that week. Yeah. And when you look at it that way, there's power in that. And so we have really great people that care about others. Our children's programming is, in my opinion, the best there is in this area. We have unbelievable pastors in that, and we're seeing that young families since COVID, young families are coming back to the church in droves.
Yeah.
And so, hundreds of young kids each week. We have a very, for a church our size, we're a little bit unconventional. Talking to one of my pastor friends, another executive pastor in the area that came and visited us a few weeks ago just to see what it was like. And he said, you guys are borderline edgy and just very authentic in the presentation of what happens in that room. And so high energy, from the preaching to the worship to the excitement of the room, and you can feel it. And those are all the things that we measure. But truthfully, what we've attributed this to the last several years, just the growth trajectory we've had, has been for some reason God has seen it fit to just put His favor in our church. Yeah. And sometimes you don't try to figure that out. Yeah. You just say, let's roll. Yeah. God is just doing something there, and we could try to bottle that and recreate it. And I think we got to be good stewards, but we really just got to let Him do His work and complete His will, and us just say we're willing to follow whatever you're leading.
When I was at my last church, we kind of took that, and I think we tried to take some of the same things that were happening at Eastside and turn them in to grow the church. And what we found is we kept running into walls to the point that we were like, maybe that's not what God wants for this church.
Sure. Yeah,
I mean, not every church is different. Everybody requires something different, so it doesn't have to be a 2,000 person church or a 4,000 person church or a 500 person church. It can be, something small. Maybe that's what people need, is that more intimate relationship and things like that.
But, look what God did with 12 disciples. Yeah. I mean, that's
absolutely. That's a good
12
point.
People could fit in this room right now. Not comfortably, but we could get 12 people around this table.
Yeah.
So
Definitely. So, outside of Eastside, you've made a pretty good career out of playing music. I mean, you've done it. You've done it at Eastside for a long time. I know you've had full bands. You're like I said, you're out playing at restaurants a lot. I know you do really well that way. What would you say to someone who's has aspirations to do that? I mean, how would they get started, or what's a good tip there?
I laughed when you kind of prepped me for some of the questions you might ask and some of the conversation we might have. And one of them, I got a good laugh out of it because I think you worded it, said you've made quite a lucrative career. Absolutely. And I checked my bank account after that. And I laughed about it, but no, man.
Honestly, if you make any money playing music, it's considered lucrative. I think
in these day and age, yeah. I've been playing. I took piano lessons when I was really young for years. Picked up a guitar at a yard sale, a 1965 K guitar that had a pick guard with butterflies and mother of pearl flowers in it. Right. I'm left-handed. Little known fact, I'm left-handed, and I play guitar right-handed because when I bought the guitar, I didn't know you could flip. Strings. Right. And so I've been playing in this area, like you said, in bands, solo stuff, duos, 20 years now. Mm-hmm. And it's been, I love music. Mm-hmm. It just runs in my blood, and I'm passionate about it. And so to have it's never been my full-time gig. Right. And then when I became a worship pastor and I got hired, and you work at a church, you do get a paycheck for what you do. And I remember 8 years ago, because I started there in 2016, I remember thinking in a kind of a funny way, okay, I've made it. I'm a full-time musician now. There you go. And I have a side gig as a musician. So it's God's been really good to me, just letting me use the thing in my life that I'm most passionate about, and just sharing music. Mm-hmm. And I've been able to support myself off that and create a life for my family. It's a really cool thing.
I think a lot of it comes back to just leadership in general too. I mean, you take in, number one, I've seen a lot of really good musicians that can't form a band and create a sound the way that you do. And the structure. You saying
musicians are egotistical at times?
Well, I would say musicians are, right-brained or left-brained? And people wonder why bands break up so much is because creative types are so hard to wrangle in sometimes. Yeah. And it's like, and if you don't have that one person, I mean, that's where, and I'm not, I can't remember which is right and which is left, but I'm the not creative brain really. My outlet is kind of drums, but I'm not I wouldn't consider myself. I don't really listen to a lot of music. I'm more of a podcast guy.
Yeah.
So, but yeah. So I think that it takes a little bit of that leadership, but also your ability to speak in front of people. Because you might look at me and say, well, yeah, you're speaking in front of people too. I can speak to a camera. You put me in front of that church, and I'm gonna sit up there and like shake.
Well, I had you scheduled to do announcements next week, so I guess that's not happening.
Not happening.
We'll have to talk to Katie about that. Yeah. So, Katie, if you're listening,
I've been waiting for you to ask me to pray. One of these days, I'm be like, sorry, bro. It's speaking in front of people when I put on the spot. It's one thing. If I said something dumb in front of this camera, we can cut it and move on.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
But when you're in front of somebody, once you say it, it's out. But I think it, just to give you a little pat on the back, it's more than your musicianship. It goes into, like I said, your ability to lead a band, your ability to speak, and actually be more than just a musician, but a worship leader.
Well, I appreciate that.
So
that's and that's not me. Yeah. That's if there's any goodness in me at all, it's only what God's bestowed in me. I love people passionately, and so I try to be as good of a leader as I can. But any gifts or talents that I've got, I try to keep a very humble outlook and say, God, if you want me to speak, you take what little bit I have and you can make it amazing. And so. I appreciate you saying that, but it's been a long road, letting God refine me and teach me to, I guess, lead efficiently or properly.
Sure. Speaking of gifts and talents, you've got an incredible lineup of musicians at Eastside. I've never seen anything like it.
You're part of that.
And I also call myself incredible, but I'm good enough to get by.
If I'm lucrative, you're incredible.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I've never you don't know where all these musicians come from until all of a sudden you got 5 incredible guitarists and drummers and singers and I mean these kids coming out of high school, they're like these girls that are getting up there and singing like they've been doing it for 20 years. I mean, where do they come from? Do you recruit these people?
If you can tell me,
yeah,
you are right. When you say it's just an unbelievable group of musicians, you're and this is not patting us on the back. It just is.
Yeah.
There is some unbelievable talent in the worship department, from vocalists to electric, to keys, drums, bass. There's just some amazing, and you're right, some young up and comers that just are passionate about music. Yeah. Some of it is by design. We always, if people walk in the church and I'm striking up a conversation, this as a musician, you can talk to somebody for 2-3 minutes and you get a vibe from them. Hey, do you play anything or do you sing? Right. And you can also get a vibe too when you talk to people if this person is going to be capable of being part of the team. You're kind of part of
the music community, so you probably get people feeding in your ear, knowing, so you kind of know.
Constant.
Yeah.
But as far as really recruiting, I think we have 60 plus people on our worship team between adult, middle, and high school services, and I would say that 90 to 95% of them have been brought up or found in our church and developed within our church. There's only a couple of them that have come from the outside that maybe have been friends of mine that ran around with me in the old day, and I've been able to talk to them about Jesus, and now they're part of the church too.
Well, that's what, and the thing is, people don't understand. I mean, I guess they maybe understand the commitment. I mean, when you play a weekend, you're going Thursday night from 5:30 to 8:30, whatever, and then Sunday morning 8 a.m. until after that last service is done. So it's a big commitment. But speaking to the talent of the musicians as well, people a little behind the scenes, people might not even realize. We don't even get together to practice until an hour before the service on Thursday night. We play through those songs one time. I mean, it's incredible that everybody's so prepared. And
when somebody from our church, when we talk to them, and they say, how many hours do you come in and rehearse during the week? And when we tell them we have service at 7 on Thursday, and we rehearse at 5:30, people are blown away. Yeah. And still, after 8 years of doing it, I'm still a little blown away. But what it speaks to is the people on the team, the preparedness that they have, and the willingness to know what we try to do is with such a spirit of excellence. We talk about this. We don't do things mediocre at our church. Right. We do things with a spirit of excellence. And so when people get the songs, if any of the worship team is watching this, I don't want to lie and say 2 weeks ahead of time, but usually hopefully about 8 days beforehand. It gives people time to rehearse and practice. But I would say when you guys are part of the team for the week, other than the times you're there on Thursday and Sunday, between your own rehearsal times, that's probably a 10-hour for the week volunteer position.
Sometimes.
And so it's a sacrifice for you guys. And so I'm to any of the worship team if you're watching this, man, thank you so much for the time you give our church. It's very humbling. So thank you.
Yeah, no problem. And if you question the music, anybody who's watching this, check out Discover Eastside on YouTube. All our past services and things are on there. So, and really good quality recordings and all those things, which takes me to another piece that is the glue that holds the whole thing together. A little shout out to Jordan Puckett. The dude's
huge shout out to Jordan Puckett. He's one of the most talented
people, and I've heard him sing. I've heard him play drums a little bit, play guitar. He does all that stuff, but that's not even the talent I'm talking about. He's sitting behind the soundboard and the light board and doing it, making everything look and sound good, and he's incredible. I mean,
he's one of the most well-rounded jack of all trades.
He is.
He knows
turns the drums for me.
He knows how to do everything, and he's efficient, and he is meticulous. And getting to partner with him 7 years ago when we hired him was one of the key moments for our church to be where it's at today.
I guarantee it.
Yep.
He knows a lot. I wouldn't even say he knows a little bit.
Dude.
It's like the jack of all trades, master of none. He's not even that. He's the jack of all trades and master of a whole bunch of
he's a phenomenal musician too, not just a tech director, but he's amazing.
Well, digging into, I wanted to talk a little bit more too. You're kind of segueing right now into a new role at the church. You have been the worship pastor since you said 2016. Mm-hmm. You're moving into executive pastor, I believe is the term. So tell us a little bit about what that's going to look like.
So this is God years ago at a conference I was at, put on my heart, and I thought, I want to be worship pastor for as long as I possibly can in my church. Till they have to run me off the stage. And God did something to me at a conference in 2020. We went to a conference 2 weeks before COVID hit. Mm-hmm. And the conference was at a church, Compassion Christian Church in Savannah, Georgia, one of my favorite places to go besides our own church and my home.
Banana game while you're there?
No, I did not. But they the whole conference was based on this concept of as a leader in the church, navigating the tunnel of chaos, and just how chaotic pastorship and leadership in the church can be. And so we had 3 days we got poured into, and we didn't even realize that we were going to blink, and 2 weeks later COVID was going to do what it did. But while I was there trying to learn to be the best worship pastor in the world, I had a paradigm shift. And what I left that conference with, and it's written in a note in my phone, was that my passion for leading people has surpassed my passion for leading worship. And I was confused by that. Yeah. And my passion for leading worship still to this day is incredibly high. Yeah. But what I want to pour the rest of my ministry into for as long as God will have me is I want to be the best leader of people. In whatever capacity that is. And one of the areas that big churches have is positions called executive pastors. And it's one of the more confusing terms for what in the world does that mean?
So when I first heard it, me and Katie were talking, is he going to be the next Dave? Is he what's the
Listen, I
that's probably the term.
I don't want to prep that sermon every week like that. When I preach a handful of times a year, that's stressful enough.
Yeah, I bet.
So executive pastor can mean different things for different churches. In our landscape, myself and Neil Lancaster will be in executive roles. Okay. He's executive of finance. I'll be executive of ministries. Okay. And so the behind the scenes day-to-day operations, management of staff, hiring people, launching of new ministries, like trying to do that 40,000 foot view of figuring out, God, where are you taking us in the future? What kind of ministries do we need to launch to better facilitate this community? Right. Figuring out right now, I'm working on a project. We've grown so much. I'm working on a project of trying to figure out office space.
Yeah.
Okay. How do we've got all these new hires coming in. How do we fit everybody in the same offices without putting 5 people in a room this size? And so a lot of logistics. My past careers, I was in finance, and I did commercial heating and air sales. I did project management. Yeah. I did some things that in the business world that I was in a lot of sales, sold diamonds. Yeah. So I got to do some things that helped me learn about that business side of aspect. And so as God's developed me as now a leader of people, those have kind of tied hand in hand. And so it's going to be completely different.
Right.
And I think one of the tough things about our pastor, Dave, we were joking a few weeks ago. I have right now, as the worship pastor, I believe this, I have the coolest job in the church.
Yeah.
In my opinion, I walk onto stage with 8 people, and I walk off stage, and after service, I get all the pats on the back, I get all the attaboys, I get all the worship was great. And where I'm having to, on a spiritual side, prepare for this, and Pastor Dave wanted me to be aware of it. He said, what are you going to do? Because you've been on stage your whole life. What are you going to do 2-3 years from now when we've grown so much, and you're walking around the commons and nobody knows who you are? And I said,
knowing you, I'm betting they're still going to know who you are.
I said, but it is a construct for me to wrestle through. But I am excited. I want to be used in whatever capacity our church needs for where God's taken us. Yeah. And so I don't want to be selfish, and plus the guy that's replacing me is awesome. Alex Dobler.
I mean, I think most people who have seen Alex on stage probably knew this day was like, maybe not now, maybe didn't know what the plan was, but I think we all knew like he's going to be the next worship leader.
We tried to be intentional by putting him up there with me or by himself, and God just really blessed it. It's been good, and out of it, not just blossomed a work relationship, but just a dear friendship. He and me have gotten really close. He and I, my wife and his wife, just great friends, great people. Love Jesus, love church, loves music. So we can't beat it.
That's awesome. So we're gonna still see you on stage.
So yes. I through the talks of all this, through the talks of all this, one thing just wrestling with me personally. And then also through kind of leadership meetings together and with Alex was, just because I may not be doing that full time, I'm still a musician. Yeah. And it is in my heart. It's in my bones to sing and praise. And so, of course, naturally, when you pass off a job or ministry, when you transition with somebody, you got to get out of their way for a bit of, for a time, and let that become theirs. Yeah, because that's not going to be mine anymore. Yeah, I mean it's been God's from the top, but that's not going to be what I'm leading anymore. Yeah. Alex will be leading that, and so I will have to just get out of the way for a little bit. Yeah, and so. But we've talked, I'm going to be up there. I'll take a handful of months off the stage from singing. I might be up there speaking engagements occasionally, but we actually talked about it earlier today, and I was joking with him. I said, "Make sure you give me cool songs to sing if you use
get preferential treatment now."
I'm not going. I'm going to try not to. So yes, I'm going to still. I'll be really excited, honestly, to get up there and sing and play guitar and not have to have put that whole service together. He can. It's his turn. Yeah.
You got to have an outlet. I think that's when I got out of the Juice Box Heroes, I always played a little bit at church, and I continue to do this. And matter of fact, it's about the perfect pace. We talk about how many good musicians we have. It allows us to not have to do it every single week, but be able to jump into it enough to kind of scratch that itch.
Yes.
My mom's done the same thing. She was choir teacher at Jeff for 35 years, and she retired, and she still does the church ministry, things like that. So you got to have it, or and it's hard too. A lot of times you need to have it, especially as a drummer.
Right.
You can't do it really. You can do it by yourself, I guess, but but you kind of got to be part of a group to really enjoy that. But huge things happening at Eastside, but we're coming down the stretch here, but just want to encourage anybody in the area looking for a church. If you're moving to this area, if you're already in the area and you're looking for a church, I can speak from experience. Like I said, we got to Eastside in 2020, right after COVID hit, and our plan was to visit churches. Like it really was. I mean, we were leaving our old church, and we were going to stop in and really take our time, and we went to one, and we stayed.
That's good.
There hasn't been a reason to move on, and for a plethora of reasons. You know,
Right.
Number one, I can tell you selfishly from the music standpoint, you just don't find music better than you do at Eastside. It's just so professional and so well put together, and just great music and all those things. But you also get the friendly faces. People remember your name. It's not so big that you like you said. You know, you can blend in if you want to, but you don't have to. And,
Right.
and if it's the staffs and the other members of the churches, if it's their idea, they're going to bring you in, and you're going to be seen. Yeah. So, like I said, great church. Aquila, appreciate you coming on, man.
Services on Thursday at 7, Sunday at 9 and 11. We have full programming for children from birth through fifth grade. Through fourth grade, we have 3 middle school offerings per week, a high school service. We're at 2319 Veterans Parkway in Jeffersonville, Indiana. And you can find us on most social media platforms, and then discoveryside.com. And we have all services archived and stuff on there, YouTube and everything. So shameless plug.
And a middle school service, by the way, that has all the same musicians that are playing for the regular service are playing over there too. You probably don't get that in a whole lot of places.
It's unheard of to be in a big church where the adult worshipers and musicians will go and play middle and high school services. And basically our team is one big rotation through 3 different avenues. It is and it's because of the people, man.
Yeah.
People, you got 50-year-olds on the team that are willing to go over and worship with middle schoolers, and then you got 16-year-olds that want to come over and sing to their parents and grandparents. That's when God puts his favor on something, you just roll with it.
I love it. I'm gonna throw my little pitch in here at the end. That is, we do this for you guys. We bring you the people of Southern Indiana. Our ultimate goal is to sell real estate as well, because I got to make money somehow. I'm not a paid member of staff on the church, so I got to bring in a paycheck somehow. But we do sell real estate. So if you're looking to buy, sell, or invest in Southern Indiana or Louisville, reach out to us. We'd love to help. Aquila, thanks again.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it. See you Sunday.
Yeah.